Nation of Fit in 10, welcome to day 47. And we are, well, it was between yesterday and today, we are officially for sure past the 2/3 mark now, into that final third of the challenge. And I want to remind you that, of course, it's great if you are consistent day in and day out, and it's all about that consistency. But even if you have days that are off, it's not an excuse for you just to fall off the wagon. If you are injured, it's not an excuse for you to eat whatever, and it's not even an excuse for you not to exercise. All right, where there's a will, there's a way, and there's ways to work around things. Ultimately, what this whole thing is about, and it's certainly beyond 70 days, it's about a continued effort towards maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Moderation of food, talked about this yesterday, moderation of exercise. Even if you have days that are off, even if you have days that are for sure steps backwards, it has no bearing on what you can continue to do. And ultimately, it's about a long-term trend. All right, so even if 2 weeks go by, for instance, and let's just say you didn't lose any weight, that doesn't necessarily have that much bearing on a long-term trend, which is really what we should be shooting for here. Okay? And I'm not putting it out there to make anybody feel better. I think most people actually lost weight throughout these 2 week periods. But I also want to remind you that if you've got a small amount of weight to lose on these 2 week periods, there's an element of error when the machine reads you. It doesn't matter what machine's reading you. There's always going to be an element of error. And there's many things that can affect your reading as well. So just keep that in mind when we're doing these very short-term check-ins. We used to do check-ins. We used to do 3 check-ins. Okay, well, we would do one in the beginning, and then we would do one after 4 weeks, and then 3 weeks. Of course, I'm doing more of these close check-ins just to keep a little bit more, keep a better eye on you all. And of course, hopefully this will encourage you or keep you more motivated, knowing that you're getting a check-in every 14 days. Anyways, getting back to my point here, it's about long-term trend. And the longer that we go, technically, if we're talking about years here, you could even have months where you stagnate, or even a month where perhaps you gain. But ultimately, if that long-term trend is an overall loss, right, a gradual progression of loss over time, and eventually to a point where you're going to maintain, because you're not just going to keep losing. When we're talking about weight or body fat, this is ultimately what we want. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you guys about fat burners, because I've had a number of questions about this. Do they work? Are they worth taking? What are the different kinds, etc. So I'm going to get into this right away. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. So basically, when we talk about fat burners, we've got a stimulant-based and non-stimulant-based. Those are the 2 types of fat burners that are out there, at least when we're talking about legal over-the-counter fat burners, because there are drugs out there, drugs that work, drugs that are very dangerous, actually, that will help you to lose weight. And we're not going to talk about those, obviously, because you don't want to be using those. So ultimately, we talk about stimulant-based and non-stimulant-based. The non-stimulant-based fat burners, these are the ones that are going to be better for you. These are the ones that you can, when I say better, they're going to stress your body less or not at all, or very, very little. And they're basically supplements that you can always take. The stimulant-based fat burners, the ones that really work, are the ones that you don't really want to take, and they're not going to be something that you can continue to take. And they really do stress the body. So basically, how do the stimulant-based fat burners work? Well, because they are stimulant-based, they're going to stress the body. That is, they're going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. They're going to make you more hyper, essentially, just as caffeine would. They're going to suppress your appetite, and they're also going to make you pee more. But ultimately, the way that these work is by, as I've already mentioned, stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, which is going to increase your non-exercise activity. Okay, so it's basically without you even knowing. Okay, you may notice, but you may not notice that you're just going to move more. You're going to fidget more, and this is going to help you to burn more calories because you're moving more. Likewise, if you go through a period where you do very low calories, or maybe you're over exercising, you will do things throughout the day where you conserve energy. Okay, so you may not even notice it, but you just won't move as much. You'll sit down more often. You'll just find ways of conserving energy. So, this is something, especially when we're talking stimulants like ephedrine and caffeine, 2 examples. What's another popular one that was that they didn't recently make it illegal, but I think it's illegal now. Yohimbe is another one. These things are, like I said, are just going to make you move around more. Okay, and you can't continue to do this. You can't continue to take these things. They're just not going to be good for you, and they're going to lose their effectiveness over time. Okay, so what about some things in non-stimulant-based fat burners? So what do we have here? We've got ingredients such as kelp, and kelp is high in iodine, which is going to help with thyroid-stimulating hormone production. It's also going to help with free thyroxine levels. So basically, this is your main hormone that helps to regulate your metabolism. Okay, so having a little more iodine is going to help to potentially raise your metabolic rate. They also can contain L-carnitine. This has been shown to liberate fat from fat cells. How much, I'm not really sure, but there is some evidence to suggest this. I'm very skeptical, at least in terms of how much of a change you would actually see. There's also green coffee bean extract, and this is basically an unroasted coffee bean. And this is high in something called chlorogenic acid. And this basically has been demonstrated to reduce carbohydrate absorption in the intestinal tract. So not maybe what you would think about with a coffee bean, you might be thinking caffeine. But really it's not being used in really high enough amount to do that. Although there will be some caffeine in the coffee bean, and caffeine has been shown to help liberate fat from fatty cells as well. From fat cells as well. Another common ingredient is chromium picolinate, and this assists with blood sugar management and insulin sensitivity. There's many other things that will do this as well. There are things like cinnamon will help with this. And there is another antioxidant, which is slipping my mind now, alpha-lipoic acid. This is really good as well. So you'll find things like cinnamon, alpha-lipoic acid, chromium picolinate. All of these things will help with sugar management, help with insulin sensitivity, and help to, I guess the best way to put this would be to help to shuttle sugar or better partition carbohydrates so that they don't get stored as body fat. Again, how much of a change here, I'm not sure. But when you put all these things together, you're probably going to see somewhat of change. Okay, that's it. I'm going to get to the message of the day on this day 47. And it's an important message. It's something that, you ought to remind yourself, especially when you're working towards specific goals that are important to you. And that is to surround yourself with people who elevate your game. Okay, so if whatever you're working towards, try to surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you, who are going to be supportive of what you are working towards. This is important. If it's important to you, you need that support system. And likewise, if people are not supportive, that's not to say that you should, abandon them altogether. But, maybe you want to just incorporate some people in your life that are going to help push you a bit further, right? Especially if your goals are important to you. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, for the love of God, gives me gratitude, and we'll talk to y'all tomorrow.